What's the worst date you ever had? Well, I gave this answer on a different topic, but it ties in with this. We were out on a date, we had been seeing each other for a while, close to a year maybe. She gets a phone call. Suddenly she looks destroyed. Her fiancé had just died in a motorcycle accident. Got set up on a blind date once between mutual friends. She shows up to the restaurant already a little tipsy, orders multiple appetizers and only takes like 1 or 2 bites from each one. Then she proceeds to order 3 or 4 more drinks and is visibly drunk at this point. She gets up and says she's going to the bathroom and staggers off. About 15–20 minutes go by, so I try to call her several times but no answer. Finally I decide to pay the check and just leave. About 2 hours later I'm sitting at home and I get a call from an unknown number. It's the police department. She was picked up on a DUI on her way home after she ditched me and gave the cops my number to see if I could go bail her out. Came out from a movie, late at night, and date's Camaro was stolen. Apparently, he called his wife, that I did not know he had, and let her know where he was and what happened. She showed up and realized he was on a date. She started chasing me around the parking lot telling me she was going to kill me. Saved by the cops who showed up just in time to take the auto theft report. My wife wanted to plan our 13th wedding anniversary. I was excited because usually I plan it. She bought us some new disc golf discs and after a quick supper we went to play. We hadn't played in forever. We were laughing and I had a great time. She served me with divorce papers and told me that date was a test to see if she still had feelings for me. I also learned that she was having an affair that started well before our anniversary. Edit. Holy cow everyone, I love you all. Your support in this is amazing. Thank you to everyone with the kind words. Honestly, I've had a rough couple of days, but having hundreds of people show me I'm supported. Thanks Reddit. Met a girl through a dating site and we agreed to meet up for dinner. I learned very quickly that this girl had absolutely no sense of humor whatsoever. I don't even think she cracked a smile the entire night. The date just got more and more painful as the night went on. At one point, we were talking about online dating. She told me about a friend of hers that went out on a first date with a guy online. She said this crazy guy fell absolutely in love with her friend and said he wanted to marry her. So I said, oh, well, I guess I shouldn't have picked up this engagement ring on the way here, then. She just stared at me blankly and said, that's not funny. Yes, it is. Fuck you. I was brought up in Poland by Polish parents, university professors, went to a Polish school, Polish university etc. Then I had a date with an American man whose grandmother was Polish. He grilled me on the language and criticized my pronunciation and corrected my grammar. This from a guy whose Polish vocabulary was maybe 100 words. He told me I speak like a peasant. It was a double date. She was more interested talking to the other girl throughout the whole thing. Found out later from the other guy that his girl cheated on him with my date. Met a girl at a country bar one night in my 20s. We were both pretty drunk but hit it off pretty good. Ended up getting her number and we agreed we'd go on a real date. Fast forward to the date, she gets in my vehicle and she looks almost identical to my mom. I was mortified. I was polite and we went for lunch where I found out she also had a boyfriend she wasn't sure if she was into. Never talked to her again. I smoked a lot of weed at the time and had a date with a girl I met on OkCupid who was 420 friendly. She told me to bring some with me, so we met at a Mexican restaurant at 7:30 and smoked in my car before going in. As soon as we finished the bowl, she was like, oh I forgot, I have work at 8 tonight, bye. So she either went through all that effort to get smoked out one time, or she lemon-lawed me but still wanted to bum a smoke session off me. Either way, I was high as fuck and wasn't going to not get some enchiladas, so I went in and got a table for one. Girl I met online claimed to be 24, turned out to be 16. Fortunately I figured it out before anything crazy happened, but man, talk about dodging a bullet. I got catfished. We talked for hours and when it came time to pick her up I clearly saw it wasn't the person I thought I was talking to. I just gunned it and sped off. When I was in college many years ago, before the advancement of cell phones and social media, I was chatting with a girl I met on a BBS who lived on Long Island, NY. I was 18 at the time, but lied and said I was 22 because she said she was 25. We spent a few weeks emailing each other, as well as calling each other. We even exchanged pics. When we finally met up, things blew up. Turns out we both lied about our ages. She was really 33, and lied because she thought she looked younger. She admitted she sent a college photo to me. We still had dinner together, but it was awkward as hell. We never spoke again. Tinder date. She looked nothing like her picture while not ugly, just completely different. Picked the worst restaurant in town, which I looked past because everyone has different taste. We came back to my house and complained about not showing affection or touching her, so I started touching her and then got mad about wanting a hook-up, which I didn't, but the final straw was when she decided she didn't like my house, which I had just bought and was proud of. She immediately wanted to go to Home Depot to buy stuff to start remodeling. It was by far my worst and weirdest date, and I hope she found a house to remodel. She started talking about her life story from childhood to that day, year by year, with every single traumatic story and emotions. That was our first ever date, and she didn't even let me speak for that duration. I was like, oh okay, she is now talking about high school, 6 more years left, hold tight. Met her for dinner. We seemed to hit it off well in the first few minutes, until I started feeling the worst pain ever in my side. Turns out I had a kidney stone. I unfortunately had to nope out of that one very quickly. She had blocked me via text when I abruptly left dinner, so she never got the message that I ended up in the hospital. I didn't see her for years until we ran into each other at a bar, me with a different girlfriend, her with her husband. I explained what had happened. She felt pretty bad, but hey, no long-lasting harm done. I bought her and her husband a drink, chatted for a few, and left them to finish their evening together. Had a girl openly flirt with the bartender in front of me. She says she wasn't. But handing him her own phone and asking for his contact info in front of her date seems like it to me. Went to brewery. Date said I had hairy arms and that meant I was horny, said, "You look really awful in this light," and then tried to dig out of that hole by saying in his native language that was a term of endearment long-term couples said to each other. 0/10 did not date again. We went to dinner and he started chatting up the waitress. Like interrupting me every time the waitress came over and talking to her for a few minutes instead. After a couple times I just pulled my phone out and started scrolling through Reddit, and he complained when he noticed I was on my phone. Cue a lecture about my generation. He was like 6 years older than me, IIRC. Then he got mad when I wouldn't suck his dick in the parking lot. I ended up going back inside the restaurant and calling a friend to pick me up. Dude's car was still sitting there when I left. Fuck you, Jason. Literally shit myself on a date once. Wasn't technically a date, but the guy had a farm. He took me to see the animals, feed, etc. I walked away for a few minutes and overtrusted a fart. I just looked at him and asked if he could please take me back to my car. He wanted to know why and I said, because I pooped in my pants. Guy had a super nice truck and made me sit on my feet all the way back to my vehicle. We actually ended up dating for 2-ish years. And somehow me shitting myself on the first date was the end of all jokes. Reposting my first Reddit comment from 11 years ago. I wasn't feeling great, but decided to meet anyway. We met at a Belgian beer bar. She was gorgeous, fun, and totally into me. I felt a gas pain, so I leaned forward slightly to quietly relieve the pressure. I completely and explosively shat myself. The odor was immediate. I excused myself to the bathroom, but the damage was too great. I walked out of the bathroom, muddy-panted, out of the bar, and boarded the train for home. The date was nothing, compared to the horror of the following 3 weeks, recovering from E. coli. Women. What are some questions you've always wanted to ask men, but were too embarrassed? What happens to your balls when you run? Are they just banging around? Do they stick between your thighs? Do they end up tucked? I've been dying to know, thanks. Is your orgasm better with oral or vaginal sex? Can you feel our boobs when we hug? Y'all are straight up staring at our buttholes while we're doing it doggy style, aren't ya? What happens if there's a hemorrhoid? What does it feel like to run with no underwear on? Does it just flop around? Does it hurt? Does the bouncing get you hard? What does an erection feel like? What do you want a woman to say to you if she likes you? In terms of confessing her feelings or expressing interest. Edit. Thank you everyone for the great advice and tips. I'm 30 and still trying to figure out dating. I'm generally shy and feel vulnerable easily. I really appreciate all the tips. Hugging face. Edit again. Thanks for the awards. Is it true you really get random boners? Do pussies generally taste, smell appealing? How much does height matter in attraction? Is it true that guys generally hesitate or avoid going up to and talking women that are super attractive? I mean like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Is attractiveness, appearance something that makes you stall when shooting your shot? When you have to pee and poop at the same time, do you pee standing and then sit or sit for both? What makes you really like a girl? Do you guys wipe your dick after you go pee? Or do you just shake it, assume it's good, then put it back in your pants? Doesn't that leave a little bit of pee in the tip? Why would you do that instead of just taking a bit of toilet paper and dabbing your ween? Edit. I don't mean wiping your dick like you'd wipe your ass. I'm realizing now that wipe was the wrong word. LMFAO. I'm with someone who buys me flowers to make me smile. What would be something I could do similarly for him that is non-sexual that would brighten his day? Do y'all like making your dicks do that bouncing thing? Edit. I never thought my most liked comment would come from a curiosity about dicks' tears of joy. What the fuck do you do with someone's balls during sex? Does what our vaginas look like truly matter to you? Like girls having longer lips and such. I've always felt incredibly self-conscious about guys going down on me even if guys have never mentioned it before. Edit. Strangers on the internet finally made me feel good about my body. I've always wondered if they see our bodies as ugly squishy bread rolls the way we think we look while having sex. Are you turned off by stubble, nether regions? Edit. You men are amazing. Not being totally smooth is a huge insecurity for a lot of women. Good to know y'all are just like, it's still a vagina man shrugging.